Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Trainer Talk Tuesday. Hope y'all been having a good start to your week so far. As you know, it is our weekly sit down where we kind of sit down and go over some information with you from a trainer's perspective. But today, we wanted to do something a little different and kind of give you guys more of an insight on who we are and what got us to this point today.
Yep, guys. So, how well do you know us, and do you want to get to know us? We're going to kind of go over the main reasons of what got us into the industry and why we continue to pursue this industry so hard and do what we do every single day. So we're going to go over 4 different points here that are the 4 different segments that each took place to get us to where we are today. So the first one is passion. All right, very early on, I noticed that I had a passion for health and fitness. Now, when I was younger, I didn't quite understand what that looked like or what that meant. I just knew that I was athletic. I enjoyed being physically active. I enjoyed that environment from a very, very young age. And as I got older, I started to pursue that more. And I learned actually in high school that I could do this while making a living. So I was very passionate about fitness. That passion for fitness then grew to my passion for health and wellness. And also that just correlated with a passion for helping people and making a difference.
And passion for me really comes down to, it all started with playing basketball back in Indiana. As you guys all know, the Hoosier State, very, very prominent for basketball. So I really started off with just really being driven to, and having those hoop dreams. I know a lot of you can understand that. Just having hoop dreams, wanting to play in the league, wanting to go as far as you could possibly make it, and ultimately making it to that top goal. Well, obviously, as you see, things didn't work out that way. So one thing that I did develop passion for when I got a bit older in my days of playing ball was the working out aspect. I had met and gained a really great conditioning weightlifting coach in high school my junior year, a guy by the name of Adam Lane, the best weight training coach ever. I know he's over at Lawrence Central High School in Indianapolis right now, and Coach Lane, if you see this, shout out to you, because again, even though I didn't have some schooling and so on, a lot of my passion and what got me here today and what keeps me going today is things that I talked to Coach Lane about, and the importance of not just getting strong, but doing it in a proper way. So learning from Coach Lane my junior year, my senior year, I really developed a love for just working out to continue to better my game on the court. So once that time had passed, I just continued to stick with it. And then fast forward to today, that passion is still burning inside, and it all goes back to Coach Lane and just my days of playing basketball growing up as a kid.
Now, guys, and I'm going to speak from a spiritual aspect just because we are spiritual beings and we are believers. So I think that God gave us a passion for these things very early on when we were children, before we even knew what that would look like now as adults. And different scenarios happened in our lives. Different people were placed into our lives at certain times that really just fueled that passion even more. It made us ask questions regarding our passion for health and fitness, to look deeper into it. So for me, I had 2 very big scenarios in my life that made me become more passionate about this industry. The very first one, my dad was sick for many years. He got diagnosed with an incurable cancer when I was 7 years old. And he was told he was only going to live for 2 weeks. He ended up living for 7 years after that and did pass away the summer before my freshman year of high school. So a very long time frame here where the doctors were telling him he had no chance to live, and he kept defeating the odds over and over and over again. And I remember being a little girl and going through that and everything it entailed. I'm sure everybody that is watching this has been affected by cancer in some way, whether you yourself has or if you know somebody that has been affected by cancer. And this was just obviously life-changing for us, and to be told that there was nothing that we could do for it, that it was treatable but it was still incurable, was something that always stuck with our family. So, growing up, I saw this. I saw my dad go through chemotherapy, radiation, bone marrow transplant with his own stem cells. He never did get a donor. But we saw, all this. Clinical trials, you name it, he went through everything. And that was normal to me as a child. We were just doing exactly what we were told to be, doing during that time. We were scared, but we were also hopeful that God was going to heal my father. And, years after my father has passed, and, becoming an adult, because I was only 14 when he died, and as I started to get older and really look back at some of the things that my dad did throughout his journey with cancer, I began to question a lot of things. I did. And, if I'm being honest with you, I questioned why, his nutrition wasn't addressed, or why certain techniques or therapies weren't included. Why was he left to his own devices to figure this stuff out? And, back then, holistic treatment wasn't really a thing like it is now. Like, I think it's definitely becoming more popular. It's regaining popularity in our generation, but that just wasn't the case, especially like growing up, you were late 80s, but like growing up in the 90s, it just, that wasn't what we did. It wasn't what we, had our focus on.
That made me feel old.
I'm sorry.
God,
But look, 90s baby.
80s baby. Yeah.
I'm a 90s baby, and we grew up on all like the sugar-filled snacks and drinks, and everything, possible was filled with sugar. It was like a huge generation of processed foods that were being promoted and released and that were being consumed. And that just wasn't something that we questioned. I didn't know anything about nutrition then. I didn't know that it affected, your health in any kind of way. I had no knowledge about it at all. And maybe you're sitting there today and you feel like that right now, that, whatever you eat doesn't matter. And, I used to think like that. Actually, I didn't even think like that. It didn't even cross my mind. It wasn't a thought at all.
Let me stop you for a second, because I want to speak on some more of this too. But I want to throw this out. I remember, like you say, we didn't even think about it. Your house was filled with it. I remember being a kid, and it was like a competition between me and my friends of who had the best snack cabinet. Like, when my mom would go to the store, you got like the cupcakes, you got ding dongs. My mom used to love ding dongs, Pop-Tarts, just all these sugary junk foods that you look and you were dependent upon. Of like you didn't have food in the house if you're some people call it their cubby, we call it a snack, snack cabinet, whatever it is. And now as adults, what we do now, I look at it based off how many fruits and veggies we have. I look how vibrant, look at all the different colors in there now. But I remember just growing up, because my parents, they didn't know, they did the best with what they knew too. But I remember that being such a thing. Everybody has sodas. I remember when I first started coming over to y'all house, when you started dating, your mom used to have Dr. Peppers and Mountain Dews all throughout the fridges.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like a common thing.
Guys, I
it was
had
so
an
different.
extreme soda
Didn't even
addiction.
think nothing of it. It was just the norm. But go ahead and continue.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, guys, it wasn't something we thought about, but as I got older and as I, started to, dive into this passion more, because that's what you do, right? If you're passionate about something, you want to learn more about it. You're interested in it. You're excited about it. And so that's where I found myself. I was so excited about learning more. It did make me question some of the decisions that were made with my dad, and, would things be different if we had done things differently, or if we knew the knowledge that I have today, if we knew that back then, would that have given him more time? Would it have saved his life? I don't know. But I do think that it would have had an impact for sure. So, I think about that. That was the main thing that really just fueled this passion, and it really turned it into like this burning desire. And then after my dad died, several years later, when we first met, I started experiencing health issues myself. Nothing too extreme, you know, I didn't get cancer or anything crazy like that, but I was having what I would consider very extreme hormonal issues. At a very young age, I mean, I was what, 21, 22?
I was around 25, so he was about
23,
23.
Okay, 22, 23 years old, all right, so very young. I started having issues like hot flashes, like extreme abdominal pain that would sometimes leave me in fetal position where I could not move. Just overall feeling unwell. You know, I don't know how else to explain that, I just didn't feel right. And I had a lot of situations where, you know, I had a lot of pain, I had those hot flashes, I had, you know, lumps on my breast. I was having issues with different things that I went to several doctors about, and at that time I was told that I was the healthiest person that they had ever met, and that there was nothing wrong with me. Unfortunately, I was made out to be, you know, crazy, like it was all in my head, and I just knew that wasn't true. I knew that something was wrong, and, you know, and it was getting to the point that I think a lot of people, even people I cared about, were like, you know, she's complaining, she's just a complainer, or it's all in her head, she's making it up, because all these specialists, all these professionals are telling me nothing's wrong, but I knew something was. And so, again, that was just another instance in my life that I felt like, you know, I don't think that God causes pain in our life, but I think that sometimes He allows things to happen for, you know, something great to come from it. And I definitely feel that way about this situation, and even my dad's situation. As, you know, crazy as that sounds, my dad passed away, but I don't believe that I would be in this industry if he didn't. To be honest with you, I don't think that I would have been. Honestly, I wanted to be in the FBI, and I kind of laugh about that now, but that is what I wanted to do prior. And so I think that if it wasn't for my dad dying, and then for me having, you know, you're laughing about it. I really wanted to be in the FBI, guys. Go ahead and get your thoughts. But
I'm laughing because this is coming from a person that can't remember how to get back to the grocery store. I mean, we could drive to a grocery store that's 1 mile away. We could take the same route 30 days in a row. We go to this grocery store 30 straight times in a row.
hey,
Use the same route there and back. And when Larissa drives, she don't even know where she's going. But we just went that same way 30 freaking times. And I'm just throwing a number out there.
what does that have to do with being in the FBI? Because
Being able to retain information.
I can't retain
Things like
information, and we're not going to talk about this right now.
All right,
I
go
retain
ahead.
information that's
It's funny
important.
though.
Okay, so
Well, you and me, go ahead. I
No.
don't want to get sidetracked. 'Cause I
Yeah.
got some stuff I want to say too, because you took it there, and now I feel like I got to go there to kind of like meet you there, with this deeper and
All right.
passion thing.
So anyway, I wanted to be in the FBI. You can laugh about it all you want, but I wanted to do like behavioral analysis to like really learn why people make the decisions that they do, which I think I would have been awesome at. Make things otherwise. But anyway, if it wasn't for my dad dying, and if it wasn't for me having these health problems, I don't think that I would be in the health and fitness industry. Would I be in the FBI? I don't know, but I do think that I would be doing something else with my life. Those things really just lit a fire under me and caused me to look further into that passion and to really dig deeper into it. So long story short, I started having health issues. Nobody believed me about them. So I said, you know what, I'm going to figure out by myself. And that's when I really got heavily into nutrition, because it was my body. You know, my dad had already passed away. There was nothing I could do about it at that time. But this was my body. I was here. I was still alive, and I wanted to feel good. And so I started looking into nutrition heavily, and I started testing things out on my body, like I'm sure you have heard me say in previous videos. And I still continue to do that to this day. But that was really the start of it, of, okay, how can I change my food, my eating, what am I exposed to, whether that's even like all these chemicals that we put on our skin, not just the food that we eat, but what we put on our bodies and what we expose ourselves to, even what we listen to. You know, I got so deep into it of like all these things really do have an effect on our health, and I got better. I I started to get better, guys. It was crazy. It was like this weird experiment that I was doing with my own body, and I was getting like these fantastic results. And when you find something that you love, that you're passionate about, and then you realize you're good at it too, then you just want to tell everybody about it. You want to help everybody. So that's really what ultimately led to me getting into this industry, and then even more so really getting into nutrition and taking that, that next step. So yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think the best way to start, because I don't want to go too long, because I know we got some other slides, and I know you guys are enjoying yourselves. We're coming into our summer months, so it's beautiful outside. But on a deeper perspective, not as quite as serious as yours, but still serious nonetheless. Everything for me was, well, not that portion. That's why I'm trying to figure out where to start. I want to say that everything for me, like I said, it all tended from sports. It was always about the physical aspect. When you talk about you don't think you'll be in this industry, I firmly believe that basketball not working out, I don't think there was anything in my life that could have made that work out. I don't think genetically it would have been best. I don't think that influentially it would have been the best suit. But I think that once I met Coach Lane and I really started to take working out and bettering myself in that aspect, being a point guard and being able to communicate and happen to be a leader in a lot of different aspects of my life growing up, I would have always ended up here, but maybe not to this degree where we're working for ourselves, we have the amount of influence we have. I probably would have just been a trainer under someone else's umbrella, still good at what I do, but I never would have thought on a bigger stage. But when I met with Larissa, I got with Larissa and she started telling me about her father and how her passion really stems from there. When I started to help other people, when it became less physical, I started to remember my family situation growing up, losing my grandparents at such an early age. Back then, I would think that they were older. I was around 10 when this started happening. Both my grandmothers and my grandfathers, my papa and my auntie, all seemed like, and this is why today I don't like funerals. I try to stay away from them as much as possible. If that sounds horrible, I'm sorry, but just understand. All my grandparents plus my auntie and my papa passed away. It seemed like from that moment I turned anywhere from 8 to 10, it was like every year I was going to a funeral for somebody who was very important in my life. So the amount of pull and tear and like I didn't think about it, but when I started to understand the healthier side of things versus just the physical component of being a personal trainer, I started to think about why that could be a passion of mine, or why that's something I need to delve deeper into, because my grandparents were only around the age 50 to 55. My papa was older, of course my auntie was younger, but these were all issues stemming from what we were putting in our bodies and just how, as culturally, as our family, these things were normal. Like we talked about, like on the laughing side of things, like the snack bin and things like that, but just eating a certain way and cooking the way that we did as a family in our culture, it was just common. And then when I started to be introduced to that other side, like Larissa mentioned too, you get excited, you find out you're good about it. So I wanted to start to share that as well. So that helped me in the nutritional aspect and more in the personal aspect of it, where now it was about more than just getting you bigger and stronger. We started to talk about healing people and really helping people overcome these illnesses that we almost face throughout our lifetime based off the things that we're doing. And then also physically, one of the real big things too, and I go back to basketball, is I've never ever mentioned this in none of the videos, but I'm gonna say it today. Like people who know me know this happened. But once I graduated high school, I made a dumb decision playing ball where I thought I was better than what I really was in high school. I thought that, I was good enough to go to a good Division II or a mid-major or so and get an opportunity there. I thought I was really good enough. I played against a lot of that talent. I got invited to a lot of different schools during that recruitment process to practice with their teams. And I've always had good showings, and those coaches were high on me, especially because I was very good at communicating. I was a good defender. I was just able to kind of do a lot of the things that you would want a player to be able to do and then be able to understand and pick up on. So I was talented in that aspect. But I quit my senior year in the middle of it because I thought I was already good enough, and then I lost all my college opportunities. So that was off the table. I ended up going into the summer after graduating, doing absolutely nothing, and I started to get involved with the wrong crowds. As far as instead of me being one of the guys on the court in the summertime playing pickup, going back and forth, I started to get involved with the dudes on the sideline who were, involving themselves in a lot of things that you don't really want to be around, especially growing up as a young kid, things that can really influence you for the worst. Luckily, I got away from it. But I started to kind of delve into some things with those guys, trying to figure out a way to kind of stay relevant. Playing ball, being as good as I was, gained me a little bit of popularity to some degree. So I wanted to kind of keep with that, and I figured that, all right, I'll get involved with this lifestyle and start doing some things. Fast forward a year into that, I got shot in my leg. Right here, my left knee. I still have a little bit of an issue doing certain things today, but not limited to the point where if I didn't tell you, you probably would never ever know.
Yeah, you guys have probably never noticed. I've learned to notice it now. But like if you do our boot camps and stuff, like, some of you guys make jokes about like, oh, Larissa's doing this or Larissa's doing that. Like you guys we know that you're joking, but it's because of his knee.
Yeah, I got a really bad knee. And I think it's just about like, I do need to give it more attention and kind of rehab it a little bit more. But having that injury, like Larissa mentioned, we are believers, and I felt that was God waking me up, basically telling me, smacking me upside my head and said, man, what the hell are you doing? This ain't you. Get back to doing what you do. Get back on the court, get back involved with, trying to be someone that's helping everybody else. Because even when I was playing basketball, people just gravitated towards me. Larissa still thinking about trips out today where we in a grocery store just shopping and a random stranger come up to me, just start running their life story down to
beautiful
me.
gift and curse at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm ready to go home. I'm trying to eat, and Nate's having like this like life story conversation with a stranger of them just like telling him everything that's ever gone wrong in their life, and I'm just
Literally.
like, I'm really hungry, guys. Let's go.
Giving me the full rundown. So it was a gift, something I didn't pay attention to, but it was one of the things that made me good in basketball. So I started to kind of take those things once that ship has sailed. I started to think that, okay, I got shot in the leg and I may never ever be able to play ball again and even try to get another college opportunity. Maybe that has sailed. But you know what you can do? You can always continue to work on yourself and help that next young prospect coming up do all the things that you didn't do. Like not quit the team, continue to be a team player, continue to listen, be coachable. And again, like I said, it all started from the physical matter until I met Larissa and I started to delve into, all right, this is a lot deeper than what we're just can see on the outside, how you look, your appearances. We want to talk about long-term effects. So what you put in is going to determine what you get out. So that's when I started to think about my grandparents and my own family history. And I kind of put that thing together, and I was already working out and running and trying to rehab my own knee. And that kind of taught me just, it kind of got my foot in the door, starting to educate myself naturally just based off trial and error. And like Larissa did with her own body when she couldn't find the help. Hell, I couldn't afford the help then. Once I got out the hospital, I never went back. Guys, crazy as this is, I still got a bullet in my left glute. That bullet hit me here, penetrated all the way up my leg. It still lies right there in my glute. I never got it removed because it just stuck in a bunch of fatty tissue. Doctor said it's okay, but if I ever start to have any like feeling, sick at all or any infection type stuff starting to take place, then come in. So far, so good. No issues there, but I still have it, and it is a great story to tell when I do tell someone on a deeper level. This is the first time I'm telling this story on a live platform for any and everybody can possibly hear it. So that did happen, but I noticed that it kind of opened the door for me to start getting back involved with working out and really started to grow even more love for that than I did just hooping. I really started to love not even how I looked, I just loved running. I loved doing push-ups. I loved just trying to do things that were challenging. And I was always athletic. I could always do somersaults and flips and so on. And I can still do those things now.
Yeah, I would
with
say
this leg.
still.
I can still sprint really fast now. I can still do almost a 50-inch box jump now with this bad leg. So I'm still able to do those things, and that's when it kind of snapped that, hey, you can't help people. You had a minor setback for a major comeback, something that we like to say where I come from, minor setback for a major comeback. So yeah, I was limited, and God had to take something away to wake me up, but he still also allowed me to have enough that I can still do a lot of those things I did before, even though I got a constant reminder right here every time I go to do a lunge or a reverse lunge or, single leg RDL, deadlifts, anything of that nature where I really feel it when I'm doing isolation work. It's a constant reminder there, but it also helps me stay more passionate because even though I'm dealing with that, I've been able to help and service so many people since I got in the industry. And I've also been able to just naturally learn how to help people build up on injuries that they had in the past just by doing it for myself and having that understanding of that slow build up, that proper range of motion development and everything that goes into actually getting that joint and that muscle itself back to full function. Even though most times like myself, you will never get it back to what it used to be, you can also still get it to a point where you're functional and you can live a regular life again. So that's some of the real passion about what happened with Nate that really led me up to this point. But guys, that really happened. I never thought I'd be a person that ever get shot. I never thought I'd be in a situation to ever get shot. I didn't think it was possible. And when I did get shot, everybody who knew me was like, Nate, the Hooper? They was confusing with other dudes named Nate from the neighborhood and so on. But no, it was me. Huge wake-up call. But I am kind of thankful for it. And I'm thinking about the day I would talk to my kids about it because they asked questions about the wound or that I remember my nephew made a joke when I was going up the stairs. My sister probably see this and laugh, and I was moving real slow just because I had nothing there. I was just now getting that functionality back, but now I needed to strengthen it up. Once I was able to move it regular again, now I had to build strength up. But just remembering all of that stuff, and it just led me to want to help people more. And then when I tied it in with my grandparents and my family, it was just like, all right, this is it. So I always knew this was going to be something I did, but I am thankful that I met this woman, and she gave me a bigger vision on, no, you just don't have to be a trainer. Like, you can be an influencer into this. Like, we just don't want to work in this gym. We're going to own it, gym. And here we are today.
Yep, absolutely, guys. So, I'm sure you learned a lot about both of us right there. We're going to move on to the next point. Because once you really define your passion, then you begin your preparation, right? Like we said before, if you're passionate about something, you want to learn about it. And so that's where your preparation really comes in. We started researching. We went to school. I went to a school actually in Tampa, Florida. So I was living in Indianapolis. I'd never lived anywhere else before. And at 18 years old, right after high school, I moved to Tampa, Florida by myself without knowing one person. And I went to a trade school called the National Personal Training Institute, where my trainer, who actually still lives here in St. Petersburg, Florida, Jeff Ward, if you're watching, shout out to you because you were a huge influence in my life and getting me to where I am today. He actually owns a small personal training facility here in St. Pete called Burn Fitness Training, so you guys can look him up. But he was my trainer, he was my coach, he was my teacher when I moved here to Florida, and he taught me really how to like hone in on that passion and to learn about the details that go with it. So the science behind it, how to actually effectively and efficiently and safely train clients. You know, he was the one that really taught me how to do that. This trade school was based off of at the time, the NSCA curriculum and certification. So that is what that knowledge was based around. I did graduate from there with honors. I was one of the top students in the class, and I believe I just had a natural gift for it. You know, I think this goes back to that passion. It was just there. But it did take preparation. Okay, not only preparation with knowledge, but preparation of my own body. Because, guys, I always thought I was fit until I got trained by a trainer. One of the best trainers, you know, and I realized very quickly that I was not in as good of a shape that I thought that I was. So there was, you know, obviously you're learning all the curriculum, you're learning the facts, you're learning the data, you're learning the science. But then there was a whole different part of the schooling where they trained me. So the alumni and, you know, our trainer, the teacher, Jeff, he would train us. And they would put our body through hell. It was almost like military, or at least what I would think military would be like, maybe not. But they trained us, and I remember puking the first 2 days when I went in there. And I went in there very cocky, very confident, thinking like, oh, I've played sports my whole life. I run marathons, like I'm in great shape. And man, they put me through a 30-minute workout and I could not hang with them. So, really not just developing my mind, but developing my body and them showing me like, this is what your client feels like. Like you need to learn how to gauge it based off of their current fitness level, because this is what they're gonna feel like no matter what their current fitness level is. To them, it feels this intense. And that was a great learning experience for me, because it was an eye-opener. It truly was. So, seminars, schooling, education, all that, it went into our preparation to get us to this point. And I believe that we continue to prepare every day. That's something that you never lose, or at least that you shouldn't. You should always be trying to better your craft. Always learning more, always learning different techniques, or learning more about the body in general for us, right? Like it's something that we never stop growing with. And I know you guys have heard us talk about this with nutrition. Like I test things out on my body all the time. And when Nate and I first got together, we thought that we were really doing something with our eating. We thought that that we were eating so healthy, and like, we were those people. I hate to say it, but we were those people. At least I was. So I felt like I kind of looked down on other people for a while, because I'm like, I eat this clean. And we were not eating nearly as well as what we thought that we were. So now years later, we've learned so much more about nutrition, and it humbled us. It humbled me to say, you know what, you really didn't know shit back then. So you need to be a little bit more patient with people who don't know. So huge learning experience, huge part of the preparation.
Yep, guys, for me, attention to detail. I'm gonna start off again, going back to that athlete thing and all. That's where it always stemmed from. And my preparation for getting educated and gaining my knowledge in this industry started before I even knew it. It started back with Coach Lane, all the way back to my junior year in high school. It translated up to the little bit of a run I had in South Dakota at Aberdeen, South Dakota, and Presentation College out there. Place in the middle of nowhere. That's why I kind of always forget. It's just out in the middle of. Only thing in South Dakota is Mount Rushmore. If you ever go, I don't think there's any other reason that anybody wants to visit South Dakota. But I had a little bit of time there, and I had I'm not gonna say a great weight training coach. I wasn't around enough to get to know him on that level. But when I say attention to detail, what I mean is that I was always paying attention, because I loved working out. I loved to hoop. I loved to try to get better. So anytime I was in a position to get better, I took that shit very seriously. So when I got into school after meeting Larissa, and I really started to work towards my certification, it was just meant to be. I knew everything. I was uber passionate. I knew things that my instructors didn't think that I should know at the level that I came into school in, and with the classmates I was in school with, they had no idea of anything that the teachers would talk about. And I just haven't had, not that I knew it, but I was able to understand and pick up, and sometimes just be able to be a participant within class and just gaining that information a lot more than my contemporaries. Seeing that kind of led me to believe that, all right, this is going to be the right move for me to make. This is going to work out great. I'm excelling at this. I've already gained so much knowledge because of just paying attention to everything Coach Lane ever told me, the way that we worked out. Like, again, let me give you a little bit of understanding of Coach Lane, because I brought him up. He still does strongman competitions. Sometimes he qualifies and he's on ESPN. So he's that big time. So she has Jeff Ward, who she met down here, real great trainer in the industry, on the gym. I met Coach Lane. He's still working with students over at Lawrence Central with the football team primarily, but the guy is phenomenal. And he's just not a meathead. You would see most guys like him and you just think that they're just meatheads, they don't know much, it's just always about lifting more weight. But now this dude is super knowledgeable. I would always watch him eat like raw oats and peanut butter. He would eat healthy snacks that I see now that most people in his position, that's not what they normally go to. They kind of normally have a lot of the stuff that we kind of try to stem our clients away from and kind of take a more holistic, natural approach to what they're putting in their body. And Coach Lane was doing that as he was training himself for strongman. I remember we would get done working out as the basketball team and we would leave and I would stick around and me and a couple other buddies waiting on the after school bus. They think I'm hanging around with them. And y'all probably didn't even notice if some of y'all listening. But I was looking at Coach Lane work out in a weight room because he would make sure everybody was gone, put his wrist straps on, he'd get busy. And the dude was chiseled, he was a monster. Again, dude pulling trucks, throwing these 500-pound stones, and he is a monster. But he's, very well shaped. Like he takes care of himself. I really love my experience there. So my preparation started with him. I eventually got into school and started taking some classes to gain my NASM and ACSM certifications. That'll be your the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and then the American College Association for Sports Medicine. I think I said that right, but the ACSM and the NASM certifications. So when I started studying those, I seen that I already knew a lot more than I probably should have, being so early on, which was a good thing because it helped me kind of get through on not an easy boat, but it helped me get through it so that I could eventually get to the point where I could start working and helping people, and it wasn't such a struggle as I saw with my classmates. So that attention to detail, just taking it so seriously from day one when I was introduced to, hey, this is how you can take your game to the next level. The guys like, the Eric Gordons at the time, the Greg Goldens, the Mike Conleys, all these top players that are now in the NBA that was at Indiana, they were already on that level because they were already training their bodies and they were already introduced to the weight room. They already had trainers. They just wasn't playing in a park with the older guys in the summertime. They were actually doing purposeful things to really help grow their game. So when I was introduced to that, I took it so seriously that all that information, I just retained it over the years, even throughout that dumb stint in life that I had. But as soon as I woke back up, everything just snapped into place, and I started to educate myself in the proper manner as far as getting some schooling, getting some credentials behind me, and here we are today. So just paying attention and taking it seriously and not, taking anything for granted, I'll give a huge token to that.
When he says he pays attention to detail, this man, when he was in school or you were about to start school, it was around that same time period, and I was already working at another personal training facility. This was before Never Settle Fitness was born.
That's a big point too.
Okay, I had clients at 5 a.m. in the morning during that time. This was, before Never Settle, before kids. It was just Nate and me. And he didn't have to do this, but this guy got up with me, 4 a.m., whatever time, would go to my training facility that I was working at. 5 a.m. I had my first client, and he would sit out there in the cold. Now, if you guys, Indianapolis winters can get pretty rough, and you would see him turn the car on every now and then, heat it up, and turn it back off again. But he would sit there for my entire shift and literally just watch outside, because it was all windows all the way around, and watch me and the other 10 plus trainers, right, that were there. And he learned everything about those different trainers and their techniques and how they implemented and interacted with their clients. And he took the good from everybody and formed his own way of training that's been so effective and beneficial. I remember, one time I took him through a consultation process. I've been in the business a little bit longer than Nate, so I had worked at different facilities where they taught us sales, so I had that background, and I remember, going through this consultation process with Nate, this is how you do it, this is what you ask, and this is how it's done. And he listened to it one time, told me what was wrong with it, right? How it could be better. He perfected it, and then he mastered it ever since then. Literally, just from one time, he looked at it and made it better than what it was before and kept running with it. That's his level of attention to detail, and that's definitely someone that I would say that you would want to have as a trainer, because he notices and pays attention to everything. He's going to have that same level of attentiveness with you guys during your session.
So now that you bring that up, last thing that will close on this preparation, when she mentioned that sitting out in the car, even though that kind of makes me sound like a sucker that I was sitting out at your job for 6-7 hours.
It wasn't a sucker, it was you learning.
It was, because what that did do, eventually her boss, and the gym she's talking about is a place back in Indianapolis on the north side, right outside of Carmel, Indiana, called Fitness by Design. Best personal training facility I've ever stepped foot into. The only thing that I can put above it is Never Settle Fitness, of course, back in Indy. But we took a lot of things that they had going on in that gym, that whole model, because I didn't even think of training on that perspective. But me being up there so much and just watching, and her boss knew that I wasn't just there to be there. He saw something in me and pretty much gave me a free internship without even telling me, where he would just speak to me and kind of pick my brain and even give me his knowledge. So Rob Hudson, I want to thank you as well, because you sat down with me in your facility many of times, let me use your facility after hours to take my classes when I eventually got into school, but gave me your 30 years of history of what got you to that point, working through health clubs and eventually owning one of the best state-of-the-art facilities back in Indianapolis. And I gained and I watched all that, and all of those things really helped me. So that, like, those steps, like, man, it was just meant to be for me. Like, I worked hard for it, don't get me wrong. I put in a lot of work, mainly physically, like taking basketball seriously and really being indulged in sports and really taking people seriously and being able to communicate with other people, because that is a part of what it is to be a trainer. You have to be able to be personable. So the key word, personal trainer. So you have to be personable. You have to be able to understand and connect with people so that not only they can trust you and want to work out to the point you need them to, but that way they can get the best out of your programs and get the best results for themselves all over. So all of those things, so you bring that up, that's a huge thing. I sat outside that facility for so many months, so many days, probably at least 2 years. And eventually, because I would go in and work out when she didn't have clients, because I didn't want to be rude and just be in there and definitely not looking like that guy. But I even think the other trainers there, again, this is a good place. These trainers were all really great. They all had high credentials. They all had busy schedules. We had people with freaking jets that they own, like people with big money, big time clientele. Like, I didn't see the industry from that aspect. I was thinking about freaking Cardinal Fitness, Gold's Gym, LA Fitness type stuff, basic body hour trainer, everything controlled through the company. And then I got to see that, man, you can do it on a whole nother level. This industry can really provide a life for you that you wouldn't even have imagined. And it can also give me the influence that I didn't think I could have unless I was playing sports and being an athlete. So it opened up so many doors. I want to thank Adam Lane. I want to thank Rob Hudson. I want to thank you. I want to thank Jeremy Pittman, her brother. Just all these people who have been a huge part of my journey and helped me be able to get to where I am today, even though I had to put in a lot of work prior to getting there, so that when those opportunities were afforded to me, I knew how to walk through those doors. I knew how to keep my head up and continuing to knock down those milestones.
Okay, so that's going to get us right into number 3 here, which after we had done all this preparation, and even during the preparation, we took a lot of prayer. We prayed a lot. And I can honestly say that everything good that has happened in my life is a direct result of me praying for it. And it may not have happened when I wanted it to happen or how I wanted it to happen, but it did come to be. And I am a person that believes that God gives you the desires of your heart. We would not be living here in St. Petersburg, Florida, if it was not the case, guys. We have been praying about this move for so long, and now we are here. And like I said, may not have happened as soon as we had liked to, but funny fact of the day, I went back and looked at my Facebook memories, and there was a conversation there. I made a status saying, like, God's best for me cannot be cold and rainy Indiana. So it must have been a really gloomy day, however many years ago. And my mom commented, and, she was like, you gotta move here to Florida, because she was already living here. And I was like, you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to do that before Malachi, our oldest son, starts kindergarten. That's what's going to happen. And I forgot about that. But I prayed about that specifically for so long, and to the point that it was so normal, I didn't even think about it. It was like in my everyday conversation of, We are going to move to Florida before our son starts kindergarten, and I'm happy to say that he starts this August.
Spoken into existence.
Yep. And I'm just such a huge believer in speaking things into existence and prayer and God giving you the desires of your heart. And that has been the case with everything along this journey. Everything. You know, praying for God to open my eyes about my dad and, you know, dealing with the hurt of that, to my own health issues. Literally praying for myself. Like when I was doubled over in pain, like, God, I don't want to feel this anymore. Take this pain from me. And no, he didn't just take it away like, you know, a magician. He didn't say it.
You almost said musician.
Yes, that's what I was trying. But he did take it away because he gave me the passion to learn more about it so I could take it away myself, right? He gave me that passion. He put that inside me so I would look into it more. And I see that, and I see God's grace and his timing is so perfect with everything along of our journey that, like, it's such a huge part of who we are and why we're here. Like, it has to be mentioned because I just believe that you're never going to reach your fullest potential without incorporating God into the mix.
Yep. And guys, so obviously you heard Larissa's story about her father. So I grew up in a church as well, up until that point where my grandparents passed away. So when that all happened, you know, in black culture, primarily in most cases, Big Mama holds the family together. So it always comes down to the grandparents to kind of keep those family strings tugging so everybody is together, and we have family reunions. You went to your first family reunion. It was kind of overwhelmed with us.
First family reunion.
So when my grandparents passed away, it's no secret that like we just kind of got away from church. Not that I necessarily wasn't a believer anymore, but it wasn't a priority of mine, praying or anything like that in particular. Because like you said, God does, you know, gives you the desires of your heart. But there are things that I was always fixated on. And like Larissa always tells me, I'm either one or two ways. I'm either all the way in or I'm all the way out. And everything in my life that I've always been, like, I desired it. I wanted it more than anything. I pretty much have all of those things today. Even all the way down to my kids and the years that they are apart, and having a boy first and a girl second. You know, having two beautiful, healthy, smart, incredibly funny kids. Like having a wife like Larissa, having this career. These are things like, I didn't think about it as prayer back then, but all of those things were prayer. You know, because I was never, like, again, I wasn't, even now, I'm not like holier than thou or anything. I'm not perfect. But there are things that I've desired in my life that I've always wanted. And I can literally sit back today, living here in St. Petersburg, Florida, looking at this palm tree in my backyard, driving 3 minutes down the road and looking at the beaches. And this is stuff I used to watch movies and just dream of. Like, I want to be able to do this, and I want to do that. Now I have all of that. And it was literally because of the prayer and the faith that I had, even when I didn't know I had it. So when I started to really take my fitness career seriously, meeting Larissa, she got me back into going to church, and I got baptized. And then it did start to become something that I was intentionally doing, and it has led here to today. So I like to say and believe, or I think we both do, that, man, everything has worked out for the absolute best. No matter what hiccups was thrown in there on the way here, everything was purposeful. Everything was purposeful, which kind of takes us into the last one.
I was going to say, about to conclude that with the saying, I remember the days where I used to pray for the things I have now. And I definitely feel like that's Nate and I, like 110%. Like, I remember those days where we didn't have what we have now. We used to pray about it. We used to talk about it so much. And it's just crazy to look back on now that we've come this far in such a short period of time. And that is, you know, all credit to God, always and forever. So that leads us into number 4, which all these things, your passion, the preparation, the prayer, it leads you ultimately to your purpose. And that's where we are now. We fully, wholeheartedly know and believe that we are living out our purpose, our God-given purpose, every single day. Every single day. Because as Nate mentioned before, we were never created or designed to just be trainers. We were never created or designed to, just be knowledgeable about the industry. I truly believe that we were put here and that the things of our past, those hurts, led us up to that point now where we can be a part of healing people. And I mean truly healing people. I'm not just throwing that word around because it sounds good. I mean truly healing people, playing a part in their journey because we were put in a position where we had to heal ourselves with God's grace, with God's mercy, right? Like we had to do that for ourselves because there was nobody else there to do it for us. And I know a lot of you guys are sitting at home today and you feel like that, like there's nobody that could possibly understand what you're going through. And I'm not even talking about fitness anymore. Maybe it is related to your health, maybe it's not. But I'm sure that you're at home and there's some of you that are thinking that there's nobody out there that could possibly understand what you're going through. And we understand because we've been there before. May not be 100% specific to your situation, but we know what it's like to be broken. We know what it's like to feel like you're starting all over again. We know what it's like to not feel well, to be unwell. We know what it's like to not be living up to your fullest potential or your greatest health. Like we know what those things feel like and we know how to get to the other side of it. And all these things that we talked about are incorporated into what we do. It's who we are. It's not just our brand, it's us as individuals that we believe everybody should live a purpose-driven life, whatever that means to you. And we wholeheartedly believe that you can't do that if you are sick. You can't do that. You can never reach your purpose and reach your fullest potential in this life. You can never fulfill God's plan for your life if you are unwell, if your body is disease-stricken, if you are immobile, if you're inactive, okay? You're never going to be able to do it. You might get close, but you're never going to reach that fullest potential if you cannot respect and honor the very place in which your soul resides. And so that's what we help you guys do, because we were at that point where we had to make a decision too. Like, which way do you want to go? So 100% everything that we do, that's why it's our motto. Our motto is train with purpose, because we believe everything that you do in life should be done with purpose. It should be there to serve something greater than yourself. And I believe that we do that. Our clients feel that, and I truly know that we are making a difference in people's lives, and that is fulfillment enough. When you are living a life in purpose, man, nobody can tell you anything, because you're living your best life.
I'm not going to be able to live my best life. I guess I really need to have this desire in my heart, the desire to have a goddamn stable internet connection. Because that's why I've been looking at this Wi-Fi for so long, and I'm not going to down this company live on Facebook, but man, if I can get a stable internet connection, then I will literally have all the desires in my heart. Just to say that. But guys, just to touch up on purpose, I think I done spoke a lot of it to the best of my ability when we went over the passion, the preparation, the prayer, everything Larissa just said as far as her purpose and what our purpose is as not only a fitness couple and brand owner, Never Settle Fitness, having our own business, but also just having an understanding that connection that it's going to take so we can get the best out of people was a huge gift within itself to let us know that this is our purpose. It's a part of our purpose, being able to just connect and understand all these different people, because we talk about it all the time. I used to take this stuff for granted. I would argue with Larissa sometimes, nothing too extreme, but just making little silly jokes when I was working at like the warehouse unloading, semi-truck trailers.
This used to make me so mad.
And I used to talk about how basically you can't be tired at work when you're just standing around handing people 5 and 10 pound dumbbells. Meanwhile, I'm grabbing these huge pallet jacks of all this merchandise that I gotta unload and I gotta do it in a timely manner. I only get 30-minute lunch break and then an extra 15-minute like smoke break for people. So I would get 45 minutes within an 8-hour window where I'm pulling and hauling all this stuff. And I'm like, no, that's physical exhaustion right there. Like that's like, I'm tired. And then I got into the industry and I understood very fast. I think told you about this before we even had Never Settle Fitness. Man, I underestimated just the wear and tear every day of dealing with multiple personalities. You may got one client to come in the gym and their energy level is up here. The next person is down here. Then somebody else is in the middle. Somebody's just below the person that's way up top. Somebody's just above the person that's at the bottom. But people, it's a therapy session. And having that understanding of it is a huge aspect of being able to have some success in our industry and being able to help people get their best results possible. Because everybody isn't going to have the most physically, they're not going to look the best physically. They're not going to have the best abs. They're probably not going to lift the most weight. They're not going to run the fastest. But what you can do is heal them mentally, internally, as far as how we teach them to start to eat and take care of their body, get the proper amounts of sleep, reduce the amount of stress within their life due to the workouts and just being able to talk through certain situations that these people, or most people we don't work with, are not comfortable speaking with anyone else about. But they come in with us and we know it's a huge part of what we do, that we're gonna have to connect with you and listen to you and be a shoulder for you to lean on.
And we want to.
And we want to. But that way, we know that not only are we healing you by getting you stronger and helping you eat right, but we're also reducing your mental and your emotional health, which is a huge aspect into working out. People don't really understand that, but again, it goes so much deeper than what we're actually doing on the training floor, what weights we're lifting, how many sets we're doing. Sometimes we get clients to come in and we talk for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what they have. And if they only do 30 minutes or they do an hour, we may even go above that if we don't have anybody next in line. Sometimes we'll move somebody back if they're okay, because one of you may be going through something that is so serious that it needs to be, it needs to be addressed right then and there. Because that depression can lead to a multitude of decisions being made that's going to push you farther from your goal versus helping you reach that goal. So we try to understand that, and we try to be patient and have that slow build up with everyone, giving them just enough early on where we don't overwhelm them, but we also don't underwhelm them. Kind of meeting you right there in the center, and then having that slow, gradual build up till we get you ultimately where you want to be.
Guys, so there you have it. Every single week you sit down with us for your weekly dose of Trainer Talk Tuesday, and you listen to our advice and our tips regarding health, fitness, and healing. But this one was all about getting to know your favorite trainers and why we got into the industry and how we got into the industry and why we continue to pursue it so heavily. And it all boils down, it all started with a passion and all ended with purpose. And, no matter what you do or what you're thinking now, I want to encourage you guys. And again, this isn't fitness or health related, although I do encourage you guys to take care of those areas in your life, whether it's with us or somebody else or on your own. But if you are passionate about something, go all in. If you find joy in something, go all in, because that passion will ultimately lead you to that purpose. And I'm telling you, if you are living a life full of purpose, there's no better way to live. There's no better way to live. So guys, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know what you think. If you relate at all, we would love to hear your personal story. And as always, never give up.
Never lose hope.
Never settle.
Guys, we gave you like 8 to 10 minutes last week. Today we gave you well over an hour, so hopefully you took that in. And if you didn't get a chance to watch now, please do so later.